James Bond is one of my favorite movie series. Most people see 007 as a perfect man. A lot of young men see in Bond their masculine ideal. In this video you will learn how to actually be like James Bond, how long it really takes to develop the key traits of this secret agent and the traits which need to be present in your DNA. And trust me, they're not the nicest. We come to these actionable guidelines by comparing James to famous assassins, serial killers and special units, plus taking a look at his 3 most dominant traits. After watching this video, I guarantee that you will never look these action movies with the same eyes. Yes, we all do understand that James is a fictional character portrayed by Daniel Craig, but if anyone ever wondered what it really takes to be Bond, here it is. To fully trace everything back, we need to go where it all began, to James Bond's genome. Due to the whole reality of the 007 series and the duties of an agent, James Bond needs to have traits of a sociopath. While humans are portrayed very bad in media nowadays, the majority of us is good. That's the only reason our society functions, because most of us are good. If you read an article of Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman published in 2007, we realize that people are overwhelmingly reluctant to take a human life. In World War II, for example, the most casualties resulted from artillery fire. Artillery is a wide-range weapon which can be fired without looking an enemy directly into his face. Only 15 to 20% of riflemen officially reported ever using their gun in battle. The rest would rescue comrades, get ammunition or run messages. These are all non-violent tasks. In Vietnam, the generals realized this and created training camps for soldiers before entering the war. The aim of these camps were to create soldiers that are willing to kill, by dehumanizing the enemy. But if we go back to our beloved agent, James absolutely doesn't care when killing a bad boy. Take a look at this scene, where he waits before the assassin finishes his job. James could have easily prevented a murder, but chose not to. All these scenes point to sociopathic tendencies. Sure, there's extensive training going on before entering the MI6 scene, which we take a look in a second, but our behavior is generally always a mixture of genome and environment. In fact, if you look at common assassins for the mafia, like the Iceman or Popeye, nearly all of them have sociopathic or psychopathic traits. It's just a necessity if we deal in those environments.
That there's a genetic basis to being a fearless person. You've told me about how rarely you have any experience that even begins to resemble nervousness or fear. If you raise a kid with love and kindness and affection most of the time, you've got a good shot at their growing up to be decent, caring, loving human beings and treating their own kids well. But if you raise a kid the way Stanley raised you, with no love, no affection, constant abuse, beatings for no reason, all you teach is hatred. So I think you got to be this kind of antisocial, psychopathic person, both by getting Stanley's genes and having Stanley's parenting and your mother's cold, standoffish way of treating you.
Also, we should remember that violent acts in frequent cases go along with drug use. The drug most commonly used in violent crimes is alcohol, because it usually makes us more impulsive by forgetting the long term. James is prone to drugs in the movie Skyfall by swallowing what seems to be painkillers and drinking alcohol, but I think more for recreational uses. Now, if you look at the traits of James Bond in the movie Skyfall, we can reduce it to the 3 dominant ones. Number 1, physical shape, number 2, combat, and number 3, risk tolerance. The trait that generally is most admired by the viewers is Bond's risk tolerance. In the movie Skyfall, James is fighting on a high-speed train, driving a motorbike at fast speed without gear, plus entering in intense shootouts. What is also very interesting is that James generally seems to prefer to take the dangerous routes. In this elevator scene, it would have been easier to start shooting in the lobby, instead of jumping on the lift. It would have ended in the same scenario, the bad boy being dead, and James would have even saved a life. Of course, in movies, this dangerous, risk-seeking behavior creates thrill, similar to Rambo, the one-man army. In a real-life agent, this would show signs of sociopathy and an unsuccessful training. If you compare Bond to Navy SEALs, for example, there are distinctive differences. Navy SEALs never operate alone. The main purpose of Hell Week, the training camp, is to make the soldiers feel so vulnerable, completely without ego, that you would never imagine operating alone.
So the SEAL code, or this ethos, it says something like, "My loyalty to country and team is beyond reproach. I humbly serve as a guardian to my fellow Americans. I do not advertise the nature of my work, nor seek recognition for my actions."
You will never see Navy SEALs or Special Forces in general taking bold bets or unnecessary risks, because it's a stupid behavior. It can lead to friendly casualties, destroys planning, and results in exorbitant costs. The costs that are inflicted are mainly by firing guns, which is another key trait of Bond. The handling of the gun, shooting in movement, and smart use of coverage shows that James is a master in gunfighting. The skills that are shown here are obviously blown out of proportion by the nature of the cinema, but can be acquired by shooting regularly. A general rule of thumb for mastering a skill is 10 years of deliberate practice. Deliberate is the key word here. You need to work on your weaknesses and find good mentors.
Oh, remember what I taught you, don't let it pull to the left.
I'll do my best.
What did you say you did for a living?
Obviously, Special Forces have intensive gun training with multiple types of arms. If you will get near the level of 007, I would recommend at least 3 days per week of practice for 5 years. The most stunning acts of combat in the James Bond scenes is always though his hand-to-hand combat. Bond knows how to use striking, kicking and grappling to his advantage. By analyzing his movements in the movie Skyfall, I managed to see a tendency to aim for grappling in Bond, taking the enemy to the ground. To get on James Bond's level, there's extensive special force training involved. The closest that you can get to that level is training Krav Maga. Krav Maga is an Israeli self-defense course with deadly movements for self-protection. Another recommendation from QG is mixed martial arts, which is the most effective competitive training in my opinion. Or you could also combine wrestling and boxing, which is what Joe Rogan recommended in this clip.
Wrestling and boxing in a street fight. You don't really want to kick
That's what
somebody.
Bruce Lee was preaching. After
Yeah,
all the
makes sense.
shit, after everything, all the kung fu he grew up with, he got to the States and he realized, holy shit, this Wing Chun isn't working on these tall white boys.
I do not recommend traditional martial arts if you're looking for personal protection. Sure, they might teach discipline, but they simply don't reflect the hard and brutal reality of combat. Just look at this short clip of a Tai Chi master fighting a trained mixed martial artist. In Skyfall, our secret agent is manhandling multiple opponents, while finishing multiple attackers is realistically almost impossible for trained martial artists. If you train for 10 years or longer and achieve mastery on that level, we might stand a chance if you're lucky. Again, I suggest to practice mixed martial arts, Krav Maga, or the mixture of boxing with wrestling at least 2 times per week. Aim to do controlled sparring every week and participate in competitions if you're serious about self-protection. Number 3. Physical shape. The last and most distinctive factor of James Bond is his physical shape. This trait is key because we need to realize the proper fitness levels are the fundament to our existence. What allows James Bond to perform at this top level, master multiple skills and be superior to his adversaries in combat and training is his physical shape. meaning his cardiovascular fitness and his strength levels. While they're still not high enough to pass the secret agent tests, Bond seems to be in phenomenal shape, even at age 44 in the movie Skyfall. Yes, I do realize that I'm biased because I'm a manager of 5 fitness centers and an online coach. I also personally train since nearly half a decade, but this fitness stuff is essential. If we're bedridden by our flu, have brain fog, or need to eat 16 meals per day just to survive, we don't have the capacity to be our best self and learn new things in the first place. To be in that top physical shape like Bond takes approximately 5 to 10 years of regular weightlifting and cardiovascular fitness, depending on your genetic and your drive. I recommend weightlifting 4 times per week, first training full body, then switching to an upper and lower body split. So if James Bond would be the client of my online coaching service qualitygains.com, shameless self-plug, I would structure his ninja type training like this. 4 times per week weightlifting with an upper and lower body split, making sure there are enough rest periods in between. 2 times martial arts and 3 times gun shooting, which all of course classify as cardio. Plus 1 time cardiovascular activities on Saturday evening, because you know we speak of Bond. Wink wink. With the cruel schedule in place to beat the bad guys, I would also recommend active recovery practice for 007 in my personalized coaching and add a good caloric surplus in his meal plan. If you also want to get into your best shape by following a proven blueprint made by a professional, plus you're following a vegan diet, click the link in my bio and sign up for my coaching. The places are limited to 10 spots every 30-day period, so it's best to be fast. Bond is a remarkable man, talented in many ways, but also broken on so many levels. In top physical shape and combat ready, but also unnecessarily taking risks and putting his life on the line for the sake of it. We should all realize that James Bond is a movie and sensationalism sells. In reality, skills such as combat and physical fitness take time. Mastery takes 10 years of deliberate practice in almost all fields, the gym included. If you like this video and want to know more about fitness, nutrition, mindset and health, and how these things can help you get the most out of your life, subscribe to this channel.